Shadiversity is a guy on the internet. Restarting this intro because I got interrupted to talk about a goddamn purple skunk tulpa from the weirdest little shit show we just watched. Shadiversity is a guy on the internet. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Shadiversity is a historic European martial arts aficionado / charlatan from Australia. A very skilled, autistic, eye-having AI artist guy in locale. People very often tell me my channel wouldn't exist without him, and they're fucking true. They're right. They're right. My big reactions to him are some of the reasons, or one of the main reasons that a lot of you guys are here. Because he's a larger channel. What the fuck am I going to talk about me? Get big, man. I think not, my friend. But yeah, Shad is he's a mad bastard. He's got two channels, Shadiversity and Night's Watch. On Night's Watch, I know specifically, he likes to go in detail and look up people, movies and stuff and complain. Brie Larson. I don't even know if he's done Brie Larson. That's a quartering thing, but the woke mob, that kind of bullshit. He likes to do that. And I like to return the favor. Apparently, Shadiversity has made a movie. He has made a film. It's very short. It is not the movie you probably expected to get, which is Shadow of the Conqueror, an adaptation of his novel about a blue-haired genocidal super rapist who shoves a giant stick through his own child's ass and fucking turns back time on his older self and does a bunch of little sword fightings. And if you want to see the review to that, watch my review, 4-part review of Shadiversity's Shadow of the Conqueror, one of the greatest books ever made. But if you don't care for that, well, actually, no. We'll go watch it anyway. But that's not what got adapted. Apparently, he just made a short film called Sword Fight and released it a couple days ago, and we're going to watch that together. I have no idea what it's about. I accidentally watched 2 seconds of it, and so I did see these dragons in the sky. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that this is some sort of AI landscape, what with the shadows going interesting directions over here. It is what it is. More than likely, this is just someplace near his house or wherever the fuck it is he films, mixed in with some shit that he fucking AI'd in. We'll see. I'm excited. But apparently he does some real sword fighting in this. Without further ado, Shadiversity, Shad M. Brooks, take it away. Okay, so let me, before he continues, no, that's not my screen. Okay, this is just very dark. This is just actually this dark. It's not, I can't do anything about it. They filmed this. They filmed this with a really low histogram for some reason. I'm not doing this to the video. Why is your nose sticking out of the helmet? Okay. I don't know why it's so funny that they just have a little chair out here. The mise en scène is just completely, makes no fucking sense at all. Who put the chair out here to go sit by the fucking water with nothing over the top of it? There's just nothing up there. Screen tested. Shadiversity. I know this is, oh no! Woo! Oh no, we got a fucking celebrity in the house, bro. It's Nega Tyler. My dude has returned. Fucking based fucking Nega Tyler here to oversee a sword fight between these two fellas. Yeah, fucking Shad's hands are so fat even from a distance. It's god tier. But I was just gonna say, these guys' absolute lack of knowing how to film films is crazy, because they've been doing it so long. It's just like, have you guys never like looked up how like anything about filmography? Do you not know how to set up a camera? They're using wide angles and stuff for everything. There's no depth of field. It's just like a fucking webcam with a 35 millimeter lens on it at all times. You're just fucking wham, completely fucking wide as shit. I love it. I fucking love it, dude. What the? Oh my god, I love it. 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 We're dropping frames right now. There's nothing I could do about it. Don't worry. We're going to make a segment out of this later, and I'm recording normally. The recording's fine. So if you're watching through this and it looks choppy in stream, just don't worry. The recording will be up later. They keep cutting past 180, which is the most basic of basic rules. Yeah, those little click cuts. Yeah. It's just with the wide angle, him spinning his sword just looks like he's fucking around. Like, this just looks like a bored guy. What? Bro, you should have gotten stabbed in the fucking head right there, right? Ah. Is it supposed to look bad? Is it like, is it a joke, right? I don't know. Are those, it feels like those are maybe real moves, like but they're just putting a little extra butter on the basic, like, cha 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 cha. Like, what the fuck? Somebody said early 2010s YouTube era. The real early 2010s YouTube era is the fucking guys that did the lightsaber fights in the parking garage. I'm not gonna bring it up, but I don't want to get 100% into this yet, but like the camera angles and focal lengths just are dog shit, along with the lack of good lighting. I can tell that you're outside. You know what I mean? I don't know why they filmed outside other than it's bright out there. Filming outside is a dubious thing. First off, filming outside is almost guarantee, if you don't know how to do it, actually, that your production looks amateurish as fuck. Amateurish as shit. Because everyone thinks that it's bright outside, So like the sun is the same level of brightness, and yeah, the sun is the same level of brightness, but there's a shitload of stuff between you and the sun, and the sun's constantly moving. So like your film will have weird bits to it that make it look not great when you're outside. You have to use reflectors and exterior daytime lights to handle these pretty fucking deep shadows on the side of his face. Or you have to know how to use your camera. This looks like we're doing auto exposure and stuff, but it's just so fucking bland. The picture is flat is really what I'm getting at. The picture is insanely fucking flat and just unfocused. Tightening it up. You're outside. There's no reason to not have your shutter speed or your focal length. You dial your shutter speed and fucking like your ISO to the lows. You know, so the shutter speed could be up. Fuck it. You know, 2000. Put the ISO on. I mean, it's middle of the day. Put your ISO at 200 or 400. Whatever you want to do. But like fucking get to work on your fucking f-stop, man. That f-stop, if you're shooting cinematic, right? If you're shooting cinematic stuff, you need to get your fucking f-stop at least down to 5.6. You know what I mean? But you should be pulling the f-stop down to like 2.8 to like whatever 3.5 or whatever the fuck it is. I can't remember all my f-stops off the top of my head anymore because it's been so damn long. But like 2.8's a solid fucking f-stop for focal length. And like you're just not there, right? The detail shots that are in wide angle are crazy. I can tell that this is wide angle. I know wide angle, all right? I can tell you right now in my mind, just looking at this shot right here, that this is probably like 35 millimeter if it's not just a static, like a webcam camera or a smartphone camera. You gotta tighten it up, man. You gotta tighten up your fucking shot selection. Get a 50 millimeter, please, for the love of God. Just start with a 50 millimeter, but it's the middle of the day. Why? And you're outside, so why not just throw on a nice big fat? I know he has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Like a nice big fat 75 to 200 millimeter fucking in and out, so you can do your little fucking cutie cute zooms. But when you get a nice big fucking lens like that and a longer focal length, you'll flatten in a good way the image out. You'll stop fucking doing these goddamn fucking super wide distortions that make it look like it's too wide while also not being the human eye, so it's very distracting. You have the warp and stuff too. So like the speed of things as they move past the camera is fucking all discombobulated because you're starting to get a fisheye once you tuck in past 35. I mean, if this is like wide, like you're shooting at like what, 15, 25, whatever the fuck, shooting on a GoPro, fucking like full fisheye and not fixing your warp in DaVinci or whatever the fuck after you upload, like it's just gonna look like boogers. Understand? I know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to photography. I'm like actually very fucking good at it. I just don't do it anymore because I fucking do this bullshit. But goddamn, yeah, it's a big sheet of foam core with foil on it. They do not know what those are for. Yeah, these aren't expensive. There's a lot of different ones that you can get. Big chunk of foam. You can get the big like unfolding white screen and shit. But you got to set up for shots and then take the shots. You have to. That's what a film crew does. That's why you can't get rid of everybody with AI, because you want to do all of this, as much of this as possible in camera. Because what's happening here, this is the big reason. Okay, for me talking about. Did you see already that they didn't do any color grading? Of course, there's no fucking way Shadiversity knows what the fuck color grading is, but there's no color grading. There's no post-processing on this at all. He didn't do any fucking work on the image after the fact. But he would be hard pressed to get a lot out of it. If you don't know this, you want to shoot on the dark side a little bit, sort of. If you're going to make an error, let me explain it this way. If you're going to make an error in photography, and film is photography still too, you want your error to be a stop closer to dark than a stop closer to light. So if you have to like guess, you want to guess towards the dark, because you can always expose up. But exposed film, even when it comes to electronic sensors, can't get unexposed. You can't darken any of this. The color information's gone. The closer you get to white, the less information you have, because film is a subtractive media. So film starts with all the maximum amount of information, and then information is reduced as it's exposed. The exposure reduces the total amount of possible information. So a flat black, film has all of the possible color and depth left in it. As you expose it, it gets eroded away like a bas relief. Okay, so once you have all these whites and you're focused on this background, he's really hot right here. He's really, really fucking hot on these pauldrons and stuff. Not having, if you had a reflector, okay, you can darken these areas up and bring all of the colors in a little bit closer while not having it be it's before you have to do contrast and stuff and then separate the colors apart. But you want that's in coloring and post processing. But let me just tell you right now, if you have a lot of white, a lot of white in your screen, and a lot of your like blues, these deep blues and stuff are getting blown out. This isn't one of the other ways that you can tell that this is a fucking wide, because we're really fucking light here in the middle, and we're fucking. Maybe that's just is that just a vignetting from YouTube? YouTube, please stop. Is that YouTube vignetting? Please go away. Go away. But yeah, sometimes when you shoot wide, particularly with your f-stop's probably his f-stop. I mean, I can see the fucking background over here. This is like whatever, 150 maybe plus yards away. So we're at an f-stop of probably like fucking 22. You know what I mean? At least 11, if not 22. Just maxed f-stop. So the aperture is fucking that fucking big, which will create all of this additional vignetting and stuff on the outside. So your little area right here will be bright, and then you'll be vignetted out on the edge. That plus all the fucking warp from being in a wide angle will fuck all your color up, okay? So that's just a thing to keep in mind, okay? You want to try to avoid shooting at f22 unless you have a very, very specific reason to do it. Usually it's certain specific types of things that you're trying to capture. You want a fucking really tiny aperture for. It's very rare though. If you're gonna have to fucking work with anything, you want your ISO somewhere who gives a fuck. That's your exposure rate basically for the medium. So, that's used to be the thickness literally basically of the film back in the day. ISO goes from 100 up to, oh God, what does it go to now? Fucking 32,000. You know what I mean? That's little grainy. ISO generally goes from right around that you want to use, right around 200, and that's pushing it for fucking high visibility or highly bright areas. 200 to about 6,400. Pushing past 6,400 is a bad idea. Pushing past 3,200, also not great. I like to keep my ISO, if I can, at 1,600. I don't have it at 1,600 right now in this house, so I'm a little fucking grainy because it's just not that fucking bright. But you want to get your fucking ISO locked so that you have the most amount of flexibility with your fucking f-stop, because that's where all the camera's going to change, particularly if you're out here. None of these guys aren't moving. If you can get a shutter speed of like, 1/200th of a second, you're going to catch most shit without fucking blur on it. Cameras are going to work a little bit different, but not really. I wouldn't shoot, by the way, at 60 FPS if you're trying to make a movie. Just doesn't look right to me. I don't know. Other people like it. I just don't think it looks very good. I like a good 30, maybe 24 FPS. I think that's money. But either way, you want the most amount of flexibility with your fucking f-stop, which is actually the aperture size of the aperture at the back of the camera. Like literally the part that like that. It doesn't do that anymore. Now we have single lens reflex, so but it's the aperture at the back end, the very, very back end. If you ever see photographs, I'm giving you guys the whole crash course. If you guys ever see a photograph, right, and the lens, like it's like a good close up of somebody, and then behind them is like street lights, and the street lights look like octagons and stuff. What you're actually seeing is the aperture, right? You're seeing the aperture of the camera because it warps the light when it comes in that way into the shape of the aperture. It actually shows you, and you can see how good of an aperture it has. So if you have like a 6-blade aperture or an 8-blade aperture, it'll be a hexagon or an octagon. And that's part of, establishing all this, all of these fucking setups. The more blades your aperture has, I think it's technically supposed to be better. I don't know if that's really the case. Usually 8-blade aperture is like money, 6 to 8. Either way, when that aperture in the back is really big, it blurs the background, right? It changes the actual focal distance or the focal plane, I think. All of these fucking phrases are just like a hint away from the other one. But basically, like literally how tight your focus is, and then it blows out everything in the background. That's called bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. This has no bokeh, which is not pleasing. You can't tell right now because you're not focused. But if you actually look at your hand and focus real tight on it, like right here, your fucking eye has a really great aperture, and you'll see that everything behind it, if you just keep looking at it, is blurry. Your eye can see that same function happening in film and pictures. And that bokeh and that blowout tells your brain that this is in focus, and it actually gives you a sense of comfort because all of the extra detail back here is actually a pain in the ass to process, particularly if you're doing an action scene, because your brain is like, I am enjoying this. This is adrenaline fueled fight or flight type stuff. And I don't want to be able to see anything else, because if I was watching two guys fight, I would literally be staring at just them and nothing that's behind them. So having this lack of focus, this really long f-stop, when the f-stop gets really fucking high, okay, it goes out to like f22, which is pretty much what this is, it spreads that focal tightness all the fucking way out. So when that's all the way spread out like this, everything will be in fucking focus. It's a pretty typical thing for wide angle lenses. It's really the f-stop plus the actual focal length of the lens. So, 35 millimeters, 50 millimeters, 75 millimeters, whatever the fuck. That focal length plus the f-stop is going to give you the tightness of it. Wide angles give very bad depth. Field of depth is what I've been meaning to say. Field of depth is what I've been meaning to say. They give a really, really broad field of depth almost no matter what. And their field of depth is kind of like not aesthetic. Longer lenses, when you start at 50 and get higher, they have a very good field of depth, particularly if you use a static, non-changing length lens, a fixed focal length lens. For like fashion photography, a 50, maybe like an 85 is like money because it flattens the images. You don't have, if you take a picture of someone's face, their nose isn't going to be extra big because it gets closer. You're also going to be able to focus on them from further away, and you're going to be able to tighten up that depth of field real clean on them so that they're all in focus. Focusing on something helps people pay attention to it. And in this case, because we got all this fucking action going on, but we also have this big fucking completely spread out background, that lack of a tight depth of field gives you too much information, and it just makes it less pleasing for your brain to focus on. And the depth of field is a constant, right? Especially if you don't do it digitally. So everything that's in that depth of field, which can be like, depending on the distance, it's like a percentage, right? So as you get further away from the camera, it spreads out like that, although it still looks like percentage-wise, it's the same. So, you get away from the camera, it goes like this. That's why you can take a fucking telephoto or a big beautiful Red X goddamn mega fucking lens, big fat fucking 75 with a huge aperture that gives you a lot of fucking working room. You can back that off of your actors, track them off of I don't know if you guys can see it. This right here, that black bag with that line, that red line, that's a Manfrotto fluid tripod. You can track them with the fluid tripod real clean from a distance. And that first off puts you out of the action so that you don't get hit with anything. But also, when you back up, because it spreads like that, they can flip their fucking sword around and their sword will be completely in focus because it's within the field of, it's within the depth of field, right? So it'll always be clean against the background, except for if, you have smear frames and shit. And it just gives you a lot more to work with and helps the focus be completely on about it. Depth of field, yeah. But also sometimes it comes down to your lens and where you focus. I'm going to guess that you said all that before I got into it. I'm giving you like a full, I just fucking speed ran you guys through the first 4 weeks of just basic photography class. Stumbling because I didn't have a thing, but I'm ripping it off. So understand, that's why this looks weird and cheap if you're trying to get to it. But tightening all that up, fixing it and all that stuff, shoot with you're outside, make sure you have fucking lens cover over the top, either a nice big gigantic, what do they call those in actual Hollywood, the metal ones are like gates or something, but just a hood, a lens hood. Lens hood will give you more overall at the lens contrast in your images. It'll deepen your darks and cool off your fucking hots so that it's less washed out overall. The whole thing. But basically, like, you know how if you put a baseball cap on, everything gets a little bit clearer and like easy to see? You can do that to cameras too. Even this shitty camera, I don't think you'll be able to tell necessarily. I don't have something I'm close enough. But like, yeah, if I block the light, oh, you can't really tell because it's so bad. Well, you kind of can. It's probably trying to auto. But yeah. You see how it's like a little cleaner, and then if I move it away, I get that light brighter. So that's what it is. I'm not blocking the light hitting my face. That would be me doing like this or this. You know what I'm saying? That's where the actual light is. So you can see the like contrast just getting a little bit better. Like on my neck, you see how that shadow gets a little bit darker? It's a whole thing. You gotta put it around, but if you isolate that, it's the same thing that your eyes do. If you do like this and you're trying to see and it like makes it a little bit cleaner, same deal. Anamorphic lenses just squeeze the image so you can fit more on a given length of film. Sure, he loses like 90% of the information on his head. I love color theory. Tyler's kind of woke to tell him he shouldn't be overexposed in white. Absolutely. I'm learning so much. This is great. Yeah, and this is just a little bit. Understand also that you can break every fucking rule that I just said for reasons, and it might work, okay? You can fucking shoot your ISO all the way up to fucking 3200 and film outside like a fucking sociopath, and if that's what you want to try to do, you can. You can shoot action scenes on a fucking 17 millimeter ultra wide, literally holding it and just ducking out of the way as people swing around you. All of that's possible. But like, these are just kind of the basics of how the camera operates and why you would want to do it normally to make it cleaner. So understand, just if somebody comes through here and they're like, wow, it doesn't seem like you were giving Shad a chance. Like, dude, I just gave him like $1,000 worth of a fucking, of editorial advice for just one scene. I'm desynced. I can't do anything about it, but not today. What was that? I love, where's your goddamn continuity editor? He was doing a swing, but then he's not still completing the swing. One thing for action scenes, or for most editing, right? You want there to actually be repetitive overlap. It doesn't seem like it would make sense. But if you finish doing something, if you actually repeat doing it for like, I'm talking, you know, if you're shooting 24 frames per second for 6 frames, right? This move, if I do like this, what? Like that. And then the cut is like this, like that. You want to actually overlap the image, the motion, so it happens at the same time, and it will tell the human mind, this is literally me seeing this from 2 different angles, and it is completely still in a straight line. When you have the break and you're like, you finish the action out in your tight, right? So they do a detail shot, mid shot, whatever you want to call it. Now we're popping back out to this wide mid. He does this little move. Okay, so like we're tight, and he does a little spin like that. That zoom seems mechanical. Let me actually watch that again. Okay, yeah, we're losing a little data back here. They do have a good camera. They're just not using it. I don't know if that's just a digital effecting, but you can actually see him get a little bit crisper here, and you can see the tightness. So this detail shot, right? He does this little fucking spin move, but it's up. It's up and in, I think, the other hand. Yeah, left hand. So it's up in his left hand pointing up, and then we cut to it's in his right hand again pointing down. If you just would have had him start this walking motion with him like swiping it down left, you would have been fine. But they clearly didn't do any blocking. These are people with really, really strong opinions on movies. You might recall they have unfathomably strong opinions on films, but they're not doing it. There's clearly just no blocking happening at all. And it's not hard to do. Like literally you just draw it on little things. It's one of the things the AI fuckos say, you know, oh, what do you do? I wanted all my fucking storyboards. I'm going to use AI for storyboarding. Like, you could have at least tried to do that. Who knows what the fuck it would have looked like, but you didn't storyboard this and then block it. So blocking is basically like setting up where hitting your marks and all that sort of shit, just where you're going to walk and where you're going to move and where the camera is going to be and all that sort of stuff. So each individual shot, understand, is the every frame of painting. You know what I mean? You have to have that set up. And so there's no mix from the last shot to this one. The continuity error might not matter in other situations. So there might be other continuity errors that like, oh, you didn't notice that these swords were different swords. That doesn't matter because the scene and the focus point of the scene has to continue into the next one. Otherwise it's extraordinarily jarring. So we went from a display of finesse with the blade. He's doing his little spin move with it in his left arm to walking like this. It's very, very jarring. You can see the moment where your choreography and it just didn't make it into the film, which is not good. That's beyond amateur. That's just like you don't know how to do any of this kind of like mistake. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. They're doing okay, so this is what they're talking about, like shooting off 180. So these cuts, you just to break it down, right, what that means. So if you have a shot, right, you don't want your shot that follows this shot to be less than, 180. It has to move a lot. I can't remember how to fucking actually tell you the mathematics of it, but just know, if you are standing looking at something and you can still kind of see it the same way, you have to move way far out. Even like literally just change the whole angle, move it up, go to a different spot, do a tighter shot. Because if you do it slightly left, right and stuff, it feels jarring as fuck to have the exact same shot, but shot again from just a little to the right. That fucks up the human mind when it's trying to do its little editing assessment of what the fuck's happening. And that's what you're seeing here. That's what people were talking about, shooting off 180. That's a term I can't fucking remember how to articulate in a definition, but it works for photography too. So basically, if you're taking a bunch of pictures of people and then you have like 3 pictures and they're all like, you've just kind of shifted around, you don't want to include them in a set if it's just like that same little bit, which is why you have a mix of different types of shots. Establishing, mid, close, headshot, detail shot, tracking shot, whatever the fuck. I mean, that's a little bit of a mix up, but like seriously, even the way the camera moves, it does include that to a degree. And you want to do a completely different type of shot in between each one in order to move the story along, to tell I got to show you, this is the detail I want you to see. I'm making a point to look closer at it. You know, maybe it's just cool. Maybe there's actually something narrative there. But you got to mix the big shots in with the close ones and snap back and forth. And you don't want it to be like, wop, 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 wop. It's actually what you use dynamic zoom for, or what the snap zoom, snap focus, whatever the fuck you want to call it, pull. There's a lot of different ones. So basically zooming in on something from inside to like close, right? You wouldn't want to do a shot that just clips like that necessarily, because it could be pretty fucking off-putting. Unless you want to do it and make it off-putting intentionally. That's kind of the issue. A really good one of those is the French Connection for a snap zoom. I can't even remember what the fuck it's called. So basically, you see a guy talking inside of like a bar or like a small like cafe restaurant, right? And he's been being followed by a detective, and the detective's in the background of the scene the entire time, and you might not notice until they take this big as fuck telephoto. It had to have been huge. And they go wham and zoom in through the cafe window across the street into an alleyway that's in the middle. And so that's like a really, you go from a perfectly, and this is, weighted of the weight of the composition and stuff. And then you go from that composition to this completely different shot of this guy standing across the fucking street trying to look non-committal. That's one. Another one is a rack focus or a pull focus, whatever the fuck it's called. So basically you have two little slots. If you have a real good professional camera, the focus pullers can actually pull it in and out. I'm fucked. If you ever see me try to do this shit, I've got to do it off of, a Canon telephoto lens with a little rotation wheel. You can buy stuff to kind of like bypass it. But basically you literally have spots that says like what the focal length of this is, where I want the depth of field to be, and you fucking jump and pull it in. So you might see somebody focused. You'll see this a lot in actually action films. They could have done it in this one, but they didn't. Have your guy like pointing the sword or whatever, or it's like this dude's shoulder and he fucking whoop, and then you zoop, and then you see the focus go blurry, go whoop, and then the next guy comes into focus real quick. There's a lot of these things that you can do. Those focus changes like that and those dynamic zooms help you get away from the thing, because the cut in those tiny little angles is what drives you nuts, right? But if you actually see an unbroken moment and you do that, then it's fine, which is why you can have a dolly shot, right? So if you dolly up, right, dolly pan, you fucking kind of float. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. One is straight, one is on a curved track, one is on a big hanging arm. It's really typical. If you're low budget, what you do is you get some skateboard wheels and a piece of plywood and some fucking PVC pipe. And then you just take it out there and you can roll the wheels. You put the wheels on a fucking board so that they go like this. They sit on the PVC pipe track and then you fucking drag it while you just set a fucking camera on it. In movies, you'll see people build whole fucking little railways that the cart's on. That's for that. The moving like that lets you show the things that you're making the cuts for, right? If you do a cut here, bump, and then this, it will look weird as fuck. But if you go here and then go wham as you're turning, it's very appealing. It's actually nice because it makes you feel like you're moving, you're walking around. Your brain understands it. Same as if you're going to do a tracking shot, right? You don't want to do a tracking shot and then have cuts in it because it feels like you're traveling further than you need. Now, if you want to do that specifically because you're like doing a stalking type deal or whatever the fuck, you can. But like if you're following somebody, you want to have it, either if you're going to do Steadicam, you can do Steadicam. But if you can put it on a track and have them follow and it's really nice and smooth, you can even change that track as the fucking person's distance and direction relative to the camera change. You're following them and it's a nice like follow shot on a track. They take a right turn and walk down an alleyway. Now you have this like nice like moment where you can kind of pan and now you're stuck in a follow shot that's a long way and you have like this big wide. You mix composition to composition. This is like filmmaking. And these techniques that I'm talking about that seem like, oh, wow, that's not in every movie. That shit is in every fucking Marvel movie. The cheapest, shittiest Marvel movies have these basic as fuck techniques. Really, one of the most like, oh, okay, somebody graduated film school and got their first fucking dolly. This like basically like a boom arm, kind of like a crane that hangs, on this like little fucking deal. Because you'll see them fucking using the goddamn crane arm like crazy. Fucking just zooming around and shit. But it's all over the place. I'm fucking rambling. God, this is so washed out. Dude, don't cut it. How are you guys not cutting each other's hands off? What the hell? What the fuck is this goddamn thing? Oh god, that's lame. It's a little cartoon now. What the fuck? What is going on? For the Crown short film. You have more of these? Isn't this just the same thing I just saw? Why did you link to the same thing I just saw? Oh, because it's on his channel instead. Okay. Yeah, that was ass. I wasn't really expecting much, and of course I was still like it fell very short. That was insanely amateurish. I feel like it's okay to dog on them a little bit just because it was so they talk so much shit about other people's movies. You would think that they fucking looked at them a little bit. But it's the same thing when you guys made me look at the Mauler guy. The Mauler dude made a little short film and was doing all the same stuff. You know, it just looked like fucking dog shit. And I don't understand where the confidence to speak so much on movies comes from badly, and then not knowing how to do any of this stuff. I would have just let everybody live in secret. Okay, it would have been my Beyond the Valley of the Dolls fucking Roger Ebert fucking movie release. It's just bad, just very bad, obviously. But I feel like they don't give a fuck. I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish. The choreography was dog shit. I didn't feel anything from it. Was it like, what we're doing is we're going to try to get choreography on screen to show you that like real sword fighting techniques can look good? Well, you also have to be able to fucking film if that's what you're trying to prove. If you're going to be like, I'm going to show that these techniques will look really good in cinema, you also have to be able to fucking shoot a fucking film. You know what I mean? It has to not look like dog shit. I'm going to play a scene from an actual sword fighting movie called The Duelists here in a second. This is going to be my film studies course with you guys for the day. But I got this up earlier. I watch this every once in a while because it just it's the most comfy sword fighting scene I've ever seen in my life. What? Did I not put that up there? Okay, so this is a film from 1977 called The Duelists. Harvey Keitel, starring Harvey Keitel and someone else. I don't know if it has the other guy's name in it. But let me show you what a good fucking film looks like. If I get copy claimed for this, shit happens. It's from 1977. Hopefully they're not hardcore looking for it. I bet he encouraged Jazza to post his AI opinions in retaliation. Jazza told him he should post this video. That would be god tiers. What was Farad's problem? I haven't even fucking watched the entire film through. I've just had it recommended to me 1,000 times, and I have not been able to watch the whole film start to finish. I looked up the entire historical background to the film before I finished watching it. So I've got to watch the whole goddamn thing. But I love this fucking scene because it's just so well done that I watch it all the fucking time, which is why I had it at hand to like pop it off with it. So this is The Duelist from 1977. Check this out. So this is how they set the scene. This is an establishing shot, right? And watch. This is not a dolly. This is just fucking pan. Okay. So this is on a tripod moving over to the right or some sort of static thing. You see how we're establishing the scene here? And there's really not much more going on. Do you know why they're outside and they're over here and it looks good? Even though they don't have all the things I was talking about? Because Shad and his friends they filmed at probably like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. This is being filmed in what they call the golden hour. Do you see this golden light on the side of the building? If you are going to go outside and film shit, go outside and film at sunup or sundown, okay? It's the golden hour. Why is that good? Or when it's overcast. Sorry, if it's overcast and not rainy, goddamn, broken overcast light is the best light that will ever exist. Basically, if there's like big ass clouds, and it's kind of like that grayish, but like there's lights everywhere except for right above you. It breaks up the light and scatters it and diffuses it in a way that's like just beyond God tier. But that is a perfect weather condition that kind of only exists in the fall when it's a little wet. Golden hour is year fucking round. But look at this. Look how it's established. We have this wonderful. This is layering and stuff. So we have a lot of things happening narratively that are going on. These guys are practicing. This fellow is hanging out. He's our focal point as we move from this muddy road over to here, and now this all expands out. This is god tier fucking filmmaking. This shit's perfect. You used to have a lot more big open shots like this before Hollywood got all about close-ups for the speed of filming, and really just a lot of people's kids started getting able to make movies. But these cameras used to be huge. So back in the day, you would have to do a lot of blocking, a lot of rehearsing, and set the entire thing up for these big, long shots, right? And this is all long shots, and they are fucking amazing.
Morning. Morning. You ready, gentlemen?
Horse butt. They moved the horse out of the scene. And there's a lot of like not much happening, but this is where you build tension, okay?
Right, gentlemen.
And all of this is still the same one big shot. And now, do you see how we moved, but we're all the way whoop, like this, and it's a completely different distance and everything? We have a rework, right? So we got this nice big thing here. We have the balance. The whole scene sweeps down to the right. Wah, 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 wah. And I think these guys actually might be in broken overcast light, so they're fucking lucky as shit. It just looks amazing. It's so clean. But you see how the shadows fall evenly on their faces and on their bodies? How it's a nice, even light without those fuzzy midday shadows and those sort of like harsh undertones and stuff. That lets you really focus on them. And this is still really blown out. But in this case, because they're so far back and the camera's static, you can choose to focus on them or what's in the background. So it's really just letting you have this moment. You wouldn't necessarily want to do this if you're going to have it all close up, snippety snap, snap, snap with this big open. But right now, it's a beautiful day. You can see that they had they know, and like how this isn't fucking completely blown out here, but you can still see that sort of vignetting from the wide. But still, it's great. It's great. And there's layers. There's additional shit going on. So it's not just an empty background. We have these little sheep, okay, hanging out. This is like where that road is. You might even be thinking to look at the road here and there because you saw people riding up and down it earlier. So it's an alive area. We're really seeing like a big, my brain wants to say terrarium, but I know that's not the case. But we're seeing this big fucking tableau set up before us, this whole chunky set of things. You can tell that the sheep are right here. They're in line with this tree. It gives you a sense of distance and scale between these guys. And the whole world seems so much bigger and more open, and it's a lazy day. And then these two assholes are going to go fight each other. That's kind of what you're trying to accomplish with this stuff, is that these pricks and their fucking moments of violence out here can't even really break the serenity of the moment that they exist in, but also, they can't enjoy it either. I was thinking Rob Roy. You want to do the fucking last fight in Rob Roy? No. Complicate the scene a little bit more. He did a sneeze.
Hey.
I'm just gonna let this go. All of that was like this big setup. Also, you see this flip, this really quick. You can kind of watch it happen. So he's doing his little move. Do you see how when he's following him after he starts doing the little spin up, and then we cut to the next scene after he's walking away? That's what makes that seem so clean as they zoom in on him, and then you'll see him kind of doing the same motion, and then if you cut into the next scene, you'll see him sort of doing it, like completing the motion, and that smooths up those transitions. But it's just a break to this tension, right? So he's doing the little spin, he's doing the spin there. Your mind goes, it's the same thing. And then he's complete. You see how those transitions work?
Gently.
And now that the moment. So we have a narrative sequence, right? A narrative sequence of scenes. We were very big and very open, and it was a very calm moment, right? Now that the violence has been done, after that tension and that mid shot, that's a very wide shot, but still very mid. That tension snaps. They fight. Now we're in close-ups. Now we're zoomed in on Keitel. He's doing his little flip, like, whatever the fuck, but I won, and now they're going back and forth, and we're doing this zoom in. Keitel, victorious, right? He can walk away. Now we've got all these guys zooming on him. He's in the center of the scene. By the way, the first guy that's really been centered, but he's small. He's bent down. We have all of these people over the top of him. So you're articulating the hurt in a lot of different ways. That doesn't just require showing his, whatever the wound is, because it's this tiny little thing. So you're trying to articulate this small saber stab. That could be quite difficult, to survive. It could be very dangerous. How do you do that? You have this whole, everyone's working around, and you still learn a little bit more about Keitel. His character's just like, I don't care, whatever the fuck, here's your sword. Victory for me.
Walking by the arms. Good. Careful. Come round to me. Take it. Just take off his cravat, please. Easy. It's all right. And then undo his button. And we'll see. Easy. Bring him round a little this side. Just get this. No, just careful.
And now do you see all the movement that's happening? Remember, it was a very static shots and these slow pans and really just sitting still. Now that the injury is done and we've moved on past the moment of tension, now you have this camera following Keitel. Keitel's jumping around. His name's Farad. Someone, thank you very much for giving me the character's name. In the red trousers, he's bouncing around and stuff, and he wants to get back to it. You see the camera's kind of like dancing with him. The camera is giving him the moment. Over with this guy, we're close in on his wound. He's been injured, right? So his face, the hands of all these men working on him are the real crucial part. And he's way less motion, because he's stuck. He's down there. And having the camera kind of be a little frenetic, even though people won't be pointing it out with their mind, with Keitel versus him,
it was a
shows you
set too.
He's been
won't hurt your
hurt.
reputation, I can promise you that. Why don't you make it up like a couple of good fellows?
That's better.
There's no need to bear him a grudge.
Of course, there's no more sword fighting after this, but we have these little in-between scenes, and all of this sells the sword fight even more. Understand that just because your sword fight's over and it only lasted a few minutes doesn't mean that it's over for real, right? The intensity of the sword fight and the motions, the setup of it, and then the aftermath are what sells the fight itself, right? This injury and all these guys worrying over this dude and these like hushed short conversations and these groups of men gathering. That is what sells the intensity of the fight, more so even than any of the strokes and the fucking attacks and stuff, is those moments, because that gives you the weight, the gravitas. And that's what's missing, obviously, from Shad. I'm comparing Shadiversity's For the Crown or whatever the fuck to The Duelists. It's a little unfair. I don't think most people would argue with me that Harvey Keitel is a touch better of an actor than Shad M. Brooks, except for maybe Shad M. Brooks. But that's sort of the overall point here. That's what you're missing out in his his little short film versus this. And there's a lot of stuff he could have done that he didn't, that would have been not remotely complicated to add to that and made it look so much fucking better. And he has free time and he has like guys to work with him. He has access to the props, which is usually the hardest thing to get a hold of, is all the fucking equipment. Everything else that he would have needed to fix that up would have just literally been, just looking at a few tutorials, really. It's knowledge. He just doesn't have any understanding of how to block out and choreograph and film and light and do the setup for this sort of action. He just doesn't understand how to do it. He doesn't know anything about filmmaking. He doesn't understand anything about photography. And that's really what I wanted to hammer home after I started watching that, and pretty much what I thought we were going to get into. It doesn't take a pre-watch of a Shad Brooks video to think that The Duelist is probably going to be a better way to articulate a duel. And there's a lot of other good ones. And if you want to get for a more frenetic, crazy over-the-top action scene, we could look up stuff that I would definitely get dinged on more easily, which would be, some of the earlier Pirates of the Caribbean movies have really bombastic, cartoony sword fights that are pretty good. If you want to go back to classic touchity touch 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 Errol Flynn, if you talk to a lot of, or if you listen to a lot of, I didn't talk to anyone, if you listen to a lot of sword fighting specialists for movies and stuff, one of the best movie sword fights of all time, apparently, is the Dread Pirate Roberts versus Inigo Montoya at the top of the cliff. The Inigo Montoya versus the Dread Pirate Roberts in The Princess Bride is one of the longest, most complicated, and apparently fun to watch duels, fencing duels in history, right? It's basically like in any given sword fight, you want to minimize the amount of touches. A touch is clink, 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 or a stab. Every touch comes with the risk of actually hurting the other person because there's no way to 100% simplify or make safe the swinging around of a metal sword, right? And you can't really digitize steel swords in the way that you can, like, a lightsaber or something. It just doesn't work that way. And so every touch it has to be right. It has to look good. It could be dangerous. And the amount of touches in a scene basically kind of is a good shorthand for its difficulty to execute. And in the case of the Dread Pirate Roberts and Inigo Montoya, it had something like 4 or 5 times the amount of touches of most films up until that point, because it was a nod to Errol Flynn and all of the old fucking swashbuckling movies. If you ever seen that thing in a cartoon or a modern movie where somebody holds the rope and they fucking fly up in the air, or you're fighting down a staircase, that's Errol Flynn. Was a guy, he was like an action star from back in the day. That was his shit. The Princess Bride is a nod to Errol Flynn movies and fantasy movies of that era. And they tried to basically like as big as possible. And they made that big fucking bombastic fight scene. It involves dozens of camera angles, dozens of shots, a lot of long shots, a lot of long tracking things, stunts, and all of it has to go together. And so if you watch a fight like that and it's understand, like, that fucking camera, every shot is a whole setup. You might think it might not feel like it because it's so smooth, but they're not in order saying like, okay, I'm going to stand here, I'm going to stand like, and then, okay, move the camera. Okay, next down, move the camera. Next down, move the camera. You might have the camera in one place and shoot, touches 1 through 10, 17 through 20, 50 through 60, and then 122 through 34, all in different angles from that one camera. Because just moving the fucking camera, especially this is before digital, well before digital, The Princess Bride, that camera's heavy as fuck. It's like a 125 pound chunk of shit with a fucking gigantic steel tripod and all that. And you got to move the lights around it. So you keep the camera one place and then you move the camera another place and you try to get this shot, that shot, this shot. And you'll never be able to tell that the camera's in the same place if you don't know how to look, because the shot you're seeing is actually a super close up. And then the next shot you're seeing is a big wide up that's like here and then there. But actually the camera was in the same place, just they moved and the camera's focal length changed. And so you can't really tell. And like that's how complicated planning these things out is. And which is why a lot of sword fighting in movies looks especially simplistic or is not accurate, because no one cares, first off, except for like Shad and his fans, the nitpickers on the internet. But also it is difficult to do a stunt one time. One stunt requires stuntmen, it requires choreography, it requires practice, and you have to do it until you do it right. Look at Jackie Chan movies where, some of his stunts that are like, he's got one where he spins a pencil, right? He spins a pencil and goes like this, and the pencil goes and it flies into a cup, right? Real easy and all in one shot. It's not with special effects. He just did the dude perfect thing in like 1985 or something and spun the pencil and threw it again and again and again every take until it went in. And that's what it took. That's what it takes. So like if you have, a sloppy touch, if you have a trip, if you have a miss, if you have to sneeze, you know what I mean? If somebody, if someone gets injured during all of that, it all has to go, according to plan. It has to look good. And you have to not injure anybody, which is why this simplified sword fighting works and gets put into movies anyway. You have to slow it down and hyper focus on it. She doesn't even get touched. Of course they don't even touch her. But then if you try to see these guys that complain about this shit actually execute it, the profound difficulty of executing a fucking fight scene, any fight scene, particularly one with metal sticks, is just way outside their fucking pay grade. They can't even shoot a guy walking to a fucking chair next to a lake and make that look good. Also, shout out, every fucking camera angle is quite obviously at Nega Tyler's fucking face level. I can tell it's a guy holding a camera right in front of his head. Move it down for hero shots. Move the camera down, Nega Tyler. Move it down. Hip height. Hero shots. Up, 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 up. Get the fucking sun back there, all right? Do actual anamorphic shit. Get that big, bold fucking lens flare that crosses the entire thing. But, obviously, I'm messing around. It's not going to happen. But, like, this is the biggest issue I have with charlatans, right? And it's why they can't execute. And they never should try. Like, if you're going to be a professional charlatan, never try to make anything, okay? Accept the fact that you're a grifter. And don't try to make stuff because it will look like fucking dog shit. Fucking dog shit. It will look so bad. Not necessarily everybody, you have to be a fucking professional to do this stuff. But like, if you are a person that wants to give excessive amounts of criticism, especially nitpicking, frame for frame criticism about productions, and you don't even understand enough about these things to replicate the static image, you know what I mean? Much less the fucking kinetic aspect of it. I just think you should shut the fuck up a little bit, man. Just have a little bit more humility about your uneducated takes. You know what I'm saying? And it all goes into the same things again and again. This is why he uses AI art. This is why he sucks. It's a whole fucking thing. Oh, hey, yeah, Killjoy, you got a membership? Thank you. Oh, Uncle Iroll gifted 20 goof subs. Jesus Christ, thank you very much. I'm going to get to everybody's donos here in a second, but like, kind of in wrapping up, I know the one thing people, can you make one? Like, absolutely, I fucking could. I just need the fucking money, all right? I could shoot one. I guess, I don't know, if the challenge is raised, my back is almost fucking good enough. If I could get a hold of like Sellsword Arts or somebody that doesn't like Shad, lives in America, that's not too far away, I would reach out to them. If I could get the money, probably take me like, I don't know, whatever the fucking cost of gas is over there in rental for a few products. I already have the cameras and I have everything else that I need. I'll fucking ADR all the sound effects. Like, you out of your mind? I'll do all the Foley myself. I think I could show. I think I could clean. I think I could fucking clean that pretty fucking easily. But it would take time. It takes time and it takes effort. You know what I mean? If he's like, oh well, I did this with just like $1,000. I'm like, yeah, well, you fucking clearly got with what you paid for there, bud. But yeah, you can also just look up online people doing choreography and stuff like this for cheap, and it looks fucking amazing. It just requires professionals and people that know what they're doing. And if you're just gonna fuck around in your backyard and it looks like shit and you're having fun, fucking go for it. Absolutely, have a good time. Do it, because that's how you learn. That's how you start. You fuck up a bunch, then you get better, and then you eventually rock that shit. But if you're fucking, one of your major income sources is going to be movie criticism, and especially sword fight criticism in movies, you have to be better than the guy that didn't even get into the school that has the film program, much less the people in it. I could take any fucking 5 kids right now. I swear to God, any 5 fucking 20-year-olds. When did you start college? He's 19. I could take any 5 19-year-olds from the University of Cincinnati Film School and put this shit. I would obliterate. If I just went to CCM right now at the University of Cincinnati, I found 5 kids, it would be like insanely better than this. I could just tell them like, hey, I'll just do this, and they would fucking bang it out. Better effects, better fucking background effects, better fucking post-processing, the whole fucking kit and caboodle. We didn't even get to color grading and post-processing because that's just completely beyond this. Fuck that. But yeah, I think you need to chill out. I think you got to chill out with the fucking mass criticism of these popular fucking properties. If you can't even understand why people aren't doing the thing that you want to see. But I guess if you're just like a fucking consumer, you know, no one's going to be able to stop you because you're basically just a fucking slop hog that's pissed that there's a single hard bit in their fucking slurry they eat every day. But it is what it is. All that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Not the stream, guys, just the segment. Thanks everybody who tuned in. Shout out Shadiversity. Shout out Nega Tyler. It was good to see you. Good to see you again. Good to feel your spirit in the hands carrying the camera once more.
Hope you enjoyed your time on the West Side.